Well, good morning. This is a place called Whitewater Falls. I found it while I was looking for a background to use in one of my podcasts, and I was thinking about my dad at the time, and I was going to talk about losing my dad, which I will someday. But today, when I'm sitting here, or this morning when I'm sitting here looking at this scene, it's just so beautiful to see the cascading waters and to realize that, I was standing there taking this picture and numerous other pictures, but this one, in particular stands out because of the moving water. And, it just kind of brings you back to it. Now, it doesn't have the sound. I don't know if I'll be able to add sound when I do this podcast, but my point in saying this is that I've been hiking with my friend Chip now for like 50 years. That's how we met, really, my wife and I. We both got a job at the School for Deaf and Blind, and she was the nurse, I was the social worker. Chip was the husband of one of the teachers. We went out for a hike together, and we had a good time, a very memorable time, let's put it that way. And obviously, Tess and I hit it off, and so that was more or less the beginning of our dating time. And over the years, we've probably been to Whitewater, I don't know, let's just say less than 20 times. More than 10, less than 20. And now I can sit here and look at it, and I'm right there again. And so it just reminds me of the beauty of life, the beauty of nature, the power of nature. I went there years ago with my brother-in-law, and I was probably standing in the same place taking pictures, and it was a still picture that I liked, and I got it printed and framed, which was very, very unusual. Digital pictures these days pretty much stay digital. But anyway, I got it printed and framed, and then while I was looking at it, there was a person up under one of these falls, in the background falls, the upper falls. There was a person standing back there under the water, and I did not see that at first at all. And boy, it was just like, where's Waldo kind of thing. It's like, oh my God, I didn't know there was anybody under there or in there. I've never done that. I didn't climb these waters or attempt, to do that kind of thing. But however they got there and however they did it, they did. And just think of the experience that he was having that day. So it's just a pretty miraculous thing. And to me, waterfalls are like the ocean waves. It's something about them, the power of them, the consistency of them, the sense that they're always there. It's like whatever else is going on in life, in your life or in the world, you go back to the ocean, you go back to a waterfall, and it's still there, and it's still being a waterfall. And the power and the glory of it is just kind of overwhelming. There are other occasions that I went there with the whole family. I think that's the last time we were there, was kind of with Tessa's brother and his wife, and then our kids, Sam and Lauren and the kids. And we were there on the platform. I have a few pictures of that. It's just, it was a place to go. It was kind of an event kind of place. And so that's the beauty of Western North Carolina, is that we have places like this that are so attractive, so beautiful. It's not the Grand Canyon or Yellowstone, but it is something, and something quite beautiful. And so this is kind of where I'm turning back today, for that kind of spiritual nurturing. I don't use the word spiritual much, but I mean, there are cases where it seems to be appropriate. But I used to say I hike a lot, or I did hike a lot with Chip. And, we would go out there and do these ballbuster hikes, 10, 12, 15 miles. I think the longest one we ever did was like 30 miles. And we lived to tell about it, barely. But, he has this big thing about going out and back. He wants to go out and then back, because he says, you see different things, or you see the same things in a different way on that reverse trip. And so, and I hear them, so in other words, we don't go with two cars and park in two places. We just park, go, hike, and, come back. Well, we had done Whitewater Falls a couple of times, and, it was magnificent then. And when you're hiking it, you're not necessarily standing there looking at it like this. You're kind of down below and getting a different perspective of it from the hiking trails. And so, my point in saying this is that all the years that we've gone hiking, from the day that we first met, my wife and met his wife, and we became friends, he and I are kind of the only two out of that group of about 6 or 8 people that have stuck it out over all these years. And still hiking like madmen, and he has literally taken off or taken over in terms of the grueling hike department. All the hikes that I did with him, I recorded on Ride with GPS or on a GPS device. That's my diary. And my thoughts were, someday, if and when I can't hike, I can always go back and look at those pictures. Well, I'm kind of at that day a little bit. I mean, you never think it's going to happen in a way, but I'm not the hiker I was, and certain medical conditions popped up and age popped up, and next thing you know, hiking 10 or 12 miles seems like almost impossible. He's still doing it, and more power to him. And I may or may not get back to it, that level, but I do, 3 to 4 to 5 miles, and, that's enough for me right now. But anyway, what you realize is when time goes on and things change and things happen, there are certain things that don't change or change very little. And I think that's the irony of life, that like they say, you can never go home again. I don't know what the saying is, but if you do go home, your house always seems a lot smaller. Everything seems smaller than it was or different than it was, and candy stores might have closed down, or streets might have changed, or in my case, my house got plowed down, replaced by one of those McMansions, and things are different. What you think might be permanent turns out to be very transient. And one of the mantras that I say, or that I repeat in the morning, I'll read that one day as a podcast, but the impermanence, the law of impermanence, that things do change. They will change. The only thing constant is change. There's a lot of cliches around that. Nothing lasts forever. But there's something about saying it out loud again, and that's why I do the podcast. Saying it out loud gives a little more three-dimensional aspect to it, And so this is Whitewater Falls. I bet today, in this snowy day where I'm snowed in, I bet it's still falling. I bet those trees are looking, not in their green splendor or their fall splendor, but now in their winter splendor. And the snow and ice probably surrounds the landscape here. The water may or may not be flowing quite as strong. There might be some ice in the water. A lot of things that happen, that change, and yet the consistency of the place itself, the dependency of it, that you can depend on it being there. It's kind of a good feeling. So, God works in mysterious ways. There's another cliche, but, the story of creation and, making of life, the fashioning of the Garden of Eden, these are beautiful stories. Whether you believe them literally or not, the poets who wrote them, had a vision, and to me, this is part of that vision, just seeing the beauty and splendor of nature. So those are my thoughts this morning. I'm probably going to get up eventually and probably jump on my trampoline, since I'll probably take a little walk, but not a big one. And in the meantime, my prediction, so to speak, of taking so many pictures while I was out there walking in nature, that someday I would look at them. Well, today it's coming true. Today I'm doing that. So again, I always feel like I have to end on an upbeat or some sort of advice or something. But if you're out there, love it. Look at it. Take a second look at whatever it is that's around you and see the beauty that's in there, and maybe take a picture or two, and maybe, that's one way that you can remember it. And if it's not even in a picture, just in the moment of the day that you're there, just to breathe in and breathe out. It's like, wow, what a beautiful world. All right, folks, talk to you later. So long.